Welcome back to your rainy Friday. And yes, Laura in control room, I am jamming. A commercial break, I was doing this. Mike Epple, is he dancing too? Good morning, how are you?
Dancing Friday, good morning, how are you? I'm good.
Good.
Thank you, despite the weather.
What's that, despite the weather?
We needed rain. We needed rain.
We totally do. You know what, Mike? I'm going to apologize in advance because I've got a little bit of issues with my earpiece here, but I'm going to let you take this one. We're talking about the Suez Canal. We've been talking about it for the last few days, but the impact it's having is so significant.
There are now 2,000 freighter ships waiting at either end of the Suez for passage because of one container ship that has moved sideways. Sideways in the Suez, I guess we'll call it. And Melanie, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, $400 million worth of goods on an hourly basis. Think about that. We're talking billions of dollars a day, and this could take weeks, not days, to be righted, right that ship, so to speak. So this is a part of the global trade that, on any given day is 10 to 15% of all container shipping. It's a major situation for Europe, where a lot of these ships are destined toward. We're already in a scenario where a lot of the automakers are dealing with computer chip shortages. This is not going to help that. And the energy trade also, there's about 5% of world oil that is shipped by freighter through the Suez.
My goodness, so that's impacting gas prices. That's what we're seeing.
Well, but the problem is, I suppose, you're right. The problem is we don't know by how much. And the situation in the energy trade is still where we've actually got too much supply and not enough demand. So the market is prone to sort of knee-jerk reaction. One day it's up 5% for the price for oil. And lo and behold, this morning the price for gasoline went up by 3 cents. Tomorrow it's going to come down 2 cents per liter because the price for oil then subsequently pulled back. So it's a scenario where we were already in, because the pandemic, people weren't traveling, they weren't vacationing and spending money on activities. Instead, they were buying things. So the global shipping industry already had constraints because of, deliveries of Pelotons and goodness knows what else. And this is all coming to a head now at possibly the worst possible time.
My goodness. Okay, let's talk about what happened in Washington yesterday. A lot of people watching the congressional hearings with all the big players in social media. We're talking about misinformation. That's at the source of all of this and what they said. What's the reaction that you're seeing?
Well, first off, Jack Dorsey of Twitter said, social media does have to bear some responsibility for the Stop the Steal tweet and all of that was going on during the U.S. After the U.S. vote. And Twitter did take some actions, banning the former president from the platform. But at the same time, Mark Zuckerberg was like, we're, kind of a channel for information and who are the arbiters of what is right and wrong. So you had a lot of discussion from a Congress that is likely more interested in taking action related to regulation against Facebook and Twitter and Google and what have you. So it's going to be interesting to see if, in fact, that comes about.
All right, we've got time for one more, and we're talking GameStop on this Friday.
Yeah, sure. Sigh. So, okay,
now what?
Backstory. Of course, GameStop has been front and center for weeks now, right? And it's typically fueled by Reddit blogs, and that was the case yesterday. A day after GameStop dropped 40% because they issued earnings, and the earnings were they weren't great, and they didn't talk much about e-commerce. Well, that didn't matter because it was GameStop to the moon, as they say on these blog posts, and it was just encouragement to buy up the shares. And indeed, the buy-to-sell ratio was 3-to-1, and it was up 53% yesterday, up another 10% again this morning. And again, it's the greater fool theory potentially that you need somebody to buy your shares if you're willing, at some point, and does it reverse just as quickly? So if you like gambling, because that's kind of what this has turned into, AMC, it was the same scenario yesterday, up by 10%. And, a lot of this is just fueled by memes and Reddit posts and all these other things. It's interesting. It's interesting because, it is a market, traded company, but nevertheless, I don't have the stomach for it, but
no, and neither do I. I definitely do not. All right, Mike, have a great weekend. Some people do. You're a gambler.
Obviously.
Take care, Mike.
See you later.
Coming up after the break right now, it is 6:17. For a lot of people, online learning, that's the new normal during the pandemic, right? But could it be here to stay? That story is next.